Hey everyone, this is Brent from Dude Be Nice, and I have a special guest with us today. His name is Officer Mitch. That's how he's come to be known. And if you haven't seen his video, you'll understand why in a second. But 6 years ago, we released a video on our YouTube channel with the caption. I got to read this. This was the title: "Massive mob overwhelms school's favorite police officer." That video, released 6 years ago, now on YouTube alone has more than 21 million views just on our channel. Other channels have picked it up. Facebook, it has millions of views. So a large portion of America has seen this video. And what's cool about that is the video highlights and celebrates a gentleman that we're about to talk to right now. His name is Officer Mitch, and he was an on-campus police officer. They call them SROs at a school in Northern California. And today we're just going to talk about like that experience. It's been 6 years. We've seen each other here and there, but I want to talk about how it's impacted his life, how it's impacted our life, and more importantly than just the views, we at Dude Be Nice, we're so stoked to be able to share these celebrations because, there's not, when you go to social media, oftentimes you don't feel uplifted. You don't feel like there's hope for the world. But I think when people watch this video, overwhelmingly, the response is positive, and that's ultimately the goal for all of our stuff. So Mitch, that was a long intro, but welcome, man.
Hey, thanks, Brent. Glad to be here, man.
All right, dude. So 6 years ago, we met for the first time. I came to your campus where you are an SRO officer. You thought I was just someone from the local newspaper interviewing you and students. Little did you know the students had a big surprise for you. So take me back to the day, and we'll be playing clips throughout this of the video. But take me back to that day when the students put together the celebration, and what do you remember about it?
Well, first with you, I knew your personality just was too big for a local newspaper. So I really wasn't, I'm like, man, where's this dude coming from? Like, I thought I knew everyone.
You're a police officer, so you like read me.
Yeah, in the city. So I'm like, man, his personality is way bigger than a little local newspaper. But I didn't catch on to anything. That was the weird thing, is I always thought I had such a good grasp of what was going on campus. I knew they had the stage down there, but they do things at lunch and stuff like that. And those are one of my things I like to, be part of. So I got to say, like with Jess and her kids and the leadership program, they hid it from me like more than you can even imagine. And then I remember specifically when you were interviewing me, and we got interrupted by Carrie, she's was a vice principal, now the principal at the time. And when she's telling me that Sienna was involved in this video, and I knew Sienna was on the road to go play college soccer. I mean, I knew she had a big, bright future ahead of her. And so when I heard it was her, I was close to her, so it kind of made like my heart, sink a little bit. And then we go into the class or into the principal's office, and they hand me the video, which is now really, truly, I'm thinking it's this bad video that was released on social media, where it really was this thank you video. And I remember being like, I kicked her like chair underneath her. And
you said, "You suck."
Yeah. And then when I watched it, then I don't know if you guys know this, but my kids got involved. My own personal kids were in there. And during that time frame, I was going through a divorce. And so like to get all my kids in that thank you video, that hit home. And then just seeing some of those kids that I had a daily interaction with, that's what brought me to tears. And then you're like, oh, it's not over yet. And then it went into the mob, and I didn't even know what to do with my hands. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to walk.
I remember you're trying to I remember you were trying to film like just to capture it as if we didn't have our videographer there. Kyle White was there. Shout out to Kyle. It was just me and him. And that's the cool thing about this. So when we started this company, Dude Be Nice, we knew it was going to be more than just like a t-shirt, right? We were like, I want to tell stories and celebrate people making a positive impact in their communities. We're so quick to highlight and put the spotlight on the bad things that happen in communities. I was like, what if we do the opposite? And so I think your video was one of like the first couple that we did 6 years ago. And, it changed the trajectory of what we do too, because at the end of the day, we're a business, we're a company. And if nobody pays attention to what we're doing, we go out of business. So this video and your story, this celebration has really propelled us. Like, so I want to thank you. Like it's really helped us to keep doing this stuff. I mean, we're still doing this concept, and I hope to continue to do it. I don't know till I'm like an old man. I don't really know what the exit plan is, But
I watch you, and it's so cool to know, to know you for one, but then to see what you guys are continuing to do, and it's an amazing thought process. I mean, I have a little bit of gear from Dude Be Nice, and when I wear it, people are like, "What's Dude Be Nice?" And then you get a chance to tell them about it. So what you're doing is great, Brent, especially in the world that we live in, and there's so many like you said, bad stories, where there really are so many truly good stories out there.
Yeah. So I remember, here's what I remember about releasing this video. We put it up on YouTube in August of whatever 6 years ago was. So it was like 2017. Did that sound right? And we put up in August. I remember it got a pretty good response, but it was like, cool. And then for whatever reason, in December of that same year, so a few months later, it just started exploding. I remember waking up to my phone one day and just message after message and notification that like this video was popping up. What do you remember about that time when it just started like blowing up? Did people start recognizing you? I remember it was like there were comments like women are like, is he single? I remember all sorts of crazy stuff people were saying.
Well, you started this intro by saying, most of America has seen it. This thing is global. The messages that I received on my DMs and Facebook were from other countries. But I do remember specifically, my wife and I were at dinner, and we were at this little Mexican restaurant. And she's like, "Oh my God, look at the amount of views." And then it was like, it went from like 100,000 to 200,000. I mean, ultimately, like right when we're at dinner. So that happened. And then, I would get like messages from people throughout the United States. And then it turned into where, hey, you brought me a whole new perspective on, being a police officer. Now you're pushing me, and it's a goal of mine now. I do know that this video is used in a lot of trainings when it comes to law enforcement, all the way up to executive trainings. And what it's teaching is truly the community policing aspect of law enforcement. And for me, I was just being me, and I just, became part of that campus. And I never, the cool accolades, like I received, Officer of the Year at the department, City Employee of the Year, and then I received an award from the California State.
That's awesome.
But really, the biggest award for me was my relationship with those kids. It grew even bigger, and I don't know, it just is unbelievable. Yeah. It still goes around. I mean, a bunch of my high school friends just sent it out the other day, saying, "Hey, so proud of our, alumni." And
do you know? Okay, so I'm gonna give you some crazy stats. This video still continues to be one of the top performing YouTube videos that we have on our channel. It's crazy. It's got, how many hours people have watched this video? Hours, not minutes, hours. 1.2 million hours people have been staring at your face. Isn't that insane? So just on YouTube, it's almost at 21 million. Other people have kind of ripped it off and put it at different places. I know people always ask me, like, what's the secret sauce? And I mean, why do you think that this connected with so many people from your perspective? I have a perspective, but why do you think this video in particular connected and continues to connect with so many people?
I maybe because it's truly genuine. I don't know if that comes out in that video, but I think there is a relationship where here I am, this person on a campus where the majority of it is to, oh, he's here because he's got to, arrest kids when they do bad things and that kind of stuff. And that was totally not my goal. I had I think the teachers put out there that I had there was a method to my madness. Like I would go into classrooms, and at first people would be like, "Oh, who's in trouble?" But then it became normal. And I think just, when people see it and they just see the fact that, hey, he's just trying out there, just out there trying to truly be part of that school campus and be a resource to the kids. I think the genuine of it came, you somehow capture that.
Yeah. I would say that Kyle, our videographer, he, and this was just, a lot of people are like, tell me about the production of this thing. Like, how many people were there to film this? I was like, just one. I think we had a kid hold like another little steady cam, but there was just one person, Kyle White, and then he did the edit. So I give him a ton of credit. But here's what I think. Here's why I think. And so for anybody watching this, it's just like, how do I get people to pay attention to like the things I'm doing? One, I think that the reactions are genuine. They're authentic. We didn't stage any of this. Two, having the community involved, like, and so people seeing themselves in each other, that, you know, having this community be a part of this versus it just me. Like, if it was just me celebrating you, it wouldn't be a big deal because I didn't even know you until that day. But to have young people actually who have relationships with you celebrate you, that was a big deal. The third piece is, I think it was opposite of what you would typically see when it comes to law enforcement in the media. You know, it painted a different narrative, which is a probably more fair narrative, right? That a lot of police officers are like you and want to have a relationship with people and make a positive difference. And that's not always conveyed in the media. Another thing, I guess there's like 5 pieces to this puzzle, is I think the headline that we ended up writing for people to kind of watch this. We said this massive mob overwhelms school's favorite police officer. I think people intuitively, we like to look at the car wrecks, right? So they thought, oh, a mob of kids like did something bad to this guy. And I think it kind of surprised people pleasantly that it wasn't that. And then the last thing that a lot of people don't know about this, and I think you know this, is the kids really wanted us to use the Macklemore Downtown song as like the backdrop for this song, but there was no way we could afford to like license this song or actually get the blessing, so it wasn't a copyright infringement. So we did 2 versions, one with the Macklemore song and one with a different song as a background. They wanted to use it because they use that as the song they danced to and kind of did this flash mob to. I think you know this, but we were working on a TV show, trying to sell a TV show kind of similar to what we did with you at the same time. And we had this relationship, I think it was with WME, a big agency in LA. And at the last second, I remember looking up Macklemore's like management team, and it turns out that he was part of the network that we were working with. And so I sent like a cold email to our contact, and I think I copied that person and just was like, hey, we're doing this thing. The kids want this song. Shockingly, we got a response that was like, yeah, you guys are good to go. And and so we've like got copyright like question marks from YouTube, but every time we just name drop the person that kind of gave us the blessing, and we've been amazingly safe and good to go. So Macklemore's team, shout out to y'all as well. Did you know that part?
I had no idea about that part. I've always wondered. I'm like, how were they able to use that song? But yeah, I had no idea that you.
Yeah, I mean, there was no way we could afford to like officially license it through like the channels that a big commercial company would, but we got the blessing and it just kind of worked. So it was like this like magical hodgepodge of things kind of came together. But ultimately, I think it was just genuine, and people wanted to see that. So I don't think so. A story I heard that I would love for you to share is, so at the end of this kind of celebration, the kids wanted to do something very personal for you. And so I know you're a big Miami Dolphins fan, right? So they got you, what did they get you? They got you tickets. Oh no, they got you a Dan Marino signed jersey.
Yeah. So that,
which is funny, by the way, because one of the comments people always say is like, that's not a real jersey, because the kids in the video had like a fake one because the real jersey hadn't arrived yet. But you did get a jersey, right?
I did. Yeah, it's hanging in my garage now.
So the kids got a jersey, and Dan Marino, who's a Hall of Fame quarterback in the NFL, somehow saw this video. And tell us what happened.
Yeah, so they set this whole thing up. So I grew up down there. The funny story is I grew up down in South Florida. I worked at the stadium when I was in high school. And we were vendors, right, for our baseball team, and we would get a certain percentage. Well, we'd have to get to the stadium super early, and we'd go down to like the first row when the players were coming out, and Dan Marino was always the coolest one to take a few minutes to talk with us, right? So we became my favorite NFL player. So one day we're at SWAT training, and during SWAT training, I don't keep my phone on me; it's in my bag. Well, we were wrapping up SWAT training, and for whatever reason, one of the guys was like, hey, Mitch, did you get that text I sent you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I go, my phone's in my bag. And he's like, no, get your phone. So I grab my phone, and there's like this random text. But then all of a sudden I get a phone call, and it's from a 954 area code, which is South Florida. But everybody that I know in South Florida, I have their number.
You have their number, yeah.
But I almost didn't answer it. And ultimately I did. And Dan Marino was on the other line. And he got a hold of, I think
that's crazy.
And then Jess hooked it up with one of the SWAT guys to coordinate this phone call at a certain time. And he has a child that's autistic. And so he was talking about where he went to school. And I told him, hey, that's where I grew up. And he's like, no way. But his whole message to me was like, hey, keep doing what you're doing. Building those relationships with kids have, such a everlasting impact. He said, hey, I got something I'm going to send out to you. He ended up sending me a signed football. And then
like directly from Dan Marino.
Directly from Dan Marino. Yeah.
That's insane.
I said, go deep, Mitch, Dan Marino. But the funny thing is I hung up the phone with him and I was like, all right, Dan, I'll talk to you later. Like, I'm ever going to talk to this dude again. But he did say, he asked, and I haven't done it, but he's like, if you're ever coming back in town, he provided me a number to reach out to him and we'll see what happens. So ultimately, looks like they're going to have a good football year this year. Hopefully I'll be able to get down there and see what he can.
We should FaceTime him right now. No, I'd be scared. That's awesome.
It was super cool. I didn't, and you could tell, you hear him on TV, so you knew it was him. I mean, and he was just blown away with that whole.
How did he see the video?
I don't know. I think he did tell me somebody within his group, his little marketing group, saw it and then sent it to him.
That's so cool. And like, what a cool guy to like actually make the effort to reach out. Shout out Dan Marino. That's awesome. So how long were you a school resource officer, and what are you doing now? Fill people in on kind of what you're doing and like some of the ways that kind of this recognition has influenced some of the trainings and things that I've seen you do.
Yeah. So 2014 to 2019, actually the middle of 2013 to 2019. So almost 6 years. The only reason why I'm out of that position is because I promoted to the rank of sergeant now, which put me kind of 2 career goals. I'm our SWAT team leader, and then I'm also a field supervisor, which if I look back in my career, I know that school position is going to have the most impact on me. I still am heavily involved with the schools. I still provide trainings for the schools. I'm big in I developed our active shooter program for the schools.
Which is terrible that we even have to have it, but it's a reality.
But now I'm a field supervisor back on the street. I have a crew of 6 guys, and then our SWAT team leader. The school resource position, obviously that whole thing brought a lot to me as far as open doors in other arenas. I was able to speak at conferences, talk about the importance of a resource officer on campus and the reasons why they're important. When you talk about all these like communities trying to build, law enforcement trying to build relationships with the community, and they do things like the lip sync challenge, the dance challenge, they do coffee with the cop, but really what they're missing out on is where you build those relationships is with the youth. And if you have to value the school has to value the position of a school resource officer, but so does the police department. And you can't put the new cop there because he's the one that wants to take bad guys to jail. You're doing a disservice to him.
Right.
And you put the whole old cop that's going to retire and he goes to the school to hide out because you're doing a disservice. You got to have somebody that heavily wants to be involved. So
yeah,
I've been big on that, even with our own department, but trying to get that out, on a platform when I do presentations about it and making that importance, because you could have a relationship with a student, and let's say that student has an interaction with a law enforcement outside the school, it's going to go completely different if you have a relationship with it. So that's where my focus was. It still is. Like I said, I'm still heavily involved in the school. The resource officer that's currently there, he's going to be phenomenal. He wants to be like that, and I help him directly because I want, my heart's at that school. It will forever be. So I want to see good things come to it.
Yeah. What kind of, so you're sergeant now, right? What, cause I feel like I follow you too. And, I've seen you do different trainings and even using this video and stories. Like, have you been asked to come be a part of things because they like different trainings for resource officers because of this video and this story?
Oh, absolutely. So like I said, going back to those school conferences and putting the value on a school resource officer, but I explained to them, what this allowed me to do. I came up with this idea. Part of my time on that campus, I became real close with the kids in the special needs class. Yeah. And I had this idea of how do I bring general ed students and special needs students, closer together. and I had this idea about a true hero's prom is what we called it. Kind of similar to what Tim Tebow's doing.
Yeah.
But I think we did ours first. But anyways, but that was one of the things we did with the community and the students. I do this presentation called "What's Your Story?" And I had a pretty hard upbringing.
Yeah.
My dad was not the greatest person, was in and out of the dope game, all this kind of stuff. And so my message to the kids where I would share my story with them. And then what I started doing was bringing like the seniors and juniors that I knew that had stories, everything from like, there was 2 girls that grew up in the foster care program, and they shared their story with, the whole idea was like incoming freshmen. And then what that allowed it is everyone's dealing with something, and you kind of do this with your platform, but you don't know what that person next to you is dealing with. And if you just take the time to get to know somebody, understand their story, you might see a different perspective. So I kind of took the Dude Be Nice video, launched things out there. Like I said, it's used in trainings in the police academies. I know for sure I did a follow-up video with a police academy out of Canada where he reached out to me. And so what I do is he asked me, hey, do an introduction to my academy class and what your role is as a community service officer or community policing model. So I did it with that. So all these things did open the door for.
Yeah. And same for us. I mean, it gave us credibility to what we do, and the authenticness, how authentic, what we do is. And it gave us like a real platform to lean into as well. So I'm always grateful for you to participate and be such a good sport, and just the schools that have brought us in and believed in what we do and this message. So what do you hope kind of for the future of policing, specifically on school campuses? What is your kind of message to that, to young people as well as other police officers who are interacting with the community? What's kind of your advice?
So what I always say, it's in the title, the word resource is really where it falls under. We're there for number one priority is, the safety of the school. But really where you get a feel and what's going on with the culture of the school is through the leadership programs on school, right? They kind of run the campus and the culture of campus. So, my advice is always to, find a way to get involved. And if you're uncertain, there's no book on how to be a school resource officer. I had no book. And when I walked to that campus, I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew is where do I get involved? And then I kept seeing the leadership kids do their thing. And I'm like, okay, I think I need to start there. And I kind of, inserted myself into the classroom with them, start doing things with the programs on campus, everything from the sports to wherever it was, I found myself. You have to be seen, you have to be there for them, and the kids have to trust you, and they'll trust you. They'll definitely get to that point. It doesn't happen overnight. And my biggest message always to the kids were, that whole thing of respect is I'm going to give you respect, and I'm going to show them that I'm a person. And I learned quickly too, if I just remembered a kid's name, that went so tremendously far with them. Because there's 2,700 of them and one of me. But if I did remember their names or something about them, if they play a sport or if they, are in a class and they went, I'd have kids come up to me, hey, Mitch, I'd ask them, hey, how are your grades? Oh, I got 2 Fs. I'm like, man, we got to work on that. And they'd come to me down the road and be like, hey, those Fs came up to Cs. And it's they were proud to say that. And I was so proud of them. I had a lot of help though. I had local businesses that would give me discounts, and I would, buy kids food or get candy for them or that kind of stuff. But it was just this relationship was built. And then honestly, the coolest thing is as kids, as they graduate and move on and they keep going, when the new freshman kids came in, I didn't have to say anything because the reputation of my relationship with
preceded you. Yeah.
Was already there. So ultimately I tell, cops that are going to get in this position. It's one that they can have such an impact on, but they'll also be impacted by the relationships that they build. And like I said, when it's the right person, it's like a match made in heaven, and it's going to make the community stronger. It's going to make the relationships within that community even bigger. So
yeah. And I think one of the things that you said in the video, and this is a quote, you said when we were interviewing you, we asked you what are some the kind of promises you've made to yourself in this job. And you said, I promised myself two things when I became a police officer: not to be a jerk and not to get fat. And on YouTube, it's been quoted many times, but one of the times that it was quoted, just one of those times that someone's commented on this video that has almost 10,000 likes. Pretty phenomenal.
Pretty crazy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's cool because in social media, you don't always get a positive response, right? In the comments, most people are pretty negative, and 99.9% of the comments on this video that's reached millions and millions of people are genuinely positive. Things like, I have hope for the world. I wish more police officers were like this. This is another side of policing that we don't get to see. And so it's cool because it's like, that was the goal all along. What if we could get people to watch something and feel inspired and uplifted in the midst of so much negativity? Little did I know that this video would reach the levels that it's done. And it's even been in like a One Republic music video. Did you see that? I have no idea how or why, but there were clips of it, and I've seen clips of this pop up all over the place.
There's like 3 parts of that One Republic video that it popped up in. So that was your vision. Whatever you saw with this whole thing, you had the vision. I just
it takes people. Yeah, but the vision was pretty simple. I just was tired. Like, I was watching people. Look, some protests are really valid and worth it, but before I even knew I was ever going to do Dude Be Nice, when I was still working in corporate America, it just dawned on me after seeing people like so angry about something that didn't seem that big of a deal. I was like, what if people did the opposite and did like a positive protest, showed up to their Starbucks with a group of people and celebrated the person that's always kind to them, that's given them their coffee? What if we celebrated police officers who truly embody what the role is supposed to be? What if we celebrate custodians, crossing guards? There's just so many people that, and I say this all the time, there's so many people that are famous for ridiculous reasons. And so to give you a little bit of fame for not because you're perfect, not because you're flawless, but because you genuinely, want to make a difference, like that was the goal. So it's pretty cool to see, you get that recognition that you deserve and inspire other people at the same time.
Yeah, you did it, man. I'm telling you, like that. I go back to that day, and you guys had my wife there. You had all that kind of stuff, and it was just like, I didn't grasp what was going on. And the part that gets me is like I said, I felt like I had such a good grasp of everything that was going on at that campus, and you guys are able to pull off this huge thing. And I remember even when they were practicing like the dance thing, like the weeks leading up to it, I would be on campus and I would ask you, hey, what are y'all doing? Oh, we're just practicing this dance. And then ultimately it's the whole thing that you got.
Yeah, it was for you. Do you still stay in contact with any of those kids that kind of starred in that video alongside you? Sienna.
Oh, yeah. But Sienna she did go off to college, play college at UC Riverside. Then she ultimately played professionally overseas.
Wow.
She's come 360, and she's now the head coach of the Heritage girls soccer team. Chandler Hancock was the dude that
dancing at the end. Yeah.
He's down in LA now, and he's actually in acting. So I always tease him about hey, we gave you your start.
We gave you your start, man.
Yeah. So I do keep in touch with them. I mean, like I said, this thing just was sent to me, or was tagged in my Facebook page last week from dudes I went to high school with. So it's going
to continue to go. Last month it was still one of our top performing videos, getting over 100,000 views. So it's pretty cool that this is something that will live forever, beyond us. And I think we can both be really proud of it. And Kyle, who was the editor and really made this thing watchable, was a big part of this. And it's just cool. It's just cool we get to do this. I love talking. 6 years ago, man, we did this thing, and here we are. We're live. We're healthy. Life's challenging, but we're sticking to the things that we want for the world.
Yep.
What? Any final words? Any final words before we wrap this thing up? And maybe in a couple more years we can talk about this when it's at 100 million views.
No, I just want to say, thank you. I believe in your message too. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. The whole message behind Dude Be Nice and what it's about. You took something and you ran with it, and it came from your heart, and you you could see that when it comes out in these. And like, I remember the crossing guard, one of the first ones you did. And I was like, man, this thing is super cool. So, and you know, it's on, I'm sure you know this, it's on lower levels at high schools all across the country through the state, where they do be nice, not to the level of, you know, what we did, but they do it, you know, with their own campus staff and employees. So your message is out there more than you maybe even know, but
thanks, man. I mean, that's the goal. Our goal is like, what if every campus in America or globally takes this dude be nice message, because people get it and want to be a part of it, use it as the umbrella for their campus culture or business culture, or whatever. And then underneath that, there's different activities like we did for you, or days of recognition that really make kindness come to life within this dude be nice umbrella. I mean, that's the goal. And so, you know, when it's awesome when people can watch our videos like yours and kind of get the idea of what this is, and then take it and make it their own and go recognize people and show gratitude for people and that are making a positive difference in communities.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Mitch, thank you so much for doing what you do and being a good sport on that day 6 years ago. And, you know, stay safe, and, you know, you continue to make a difference. And I just want to applaud you for that. So thanks for being on this little podcast.
All right, Brent. I appreciate you, bro.